My name is Dean Thomas, and I'm the founder of Absolute Steel. Thank you for taking the time to allow me to give you a brief overview of our company and its products. You know, just like any company does, Absolute Steel started with one customer ordering one building. And I promise you, no matter how big we get, that's still the way we do business, one customer at a time. After all, that philosophy is what has made us what we are today. Every year, we fabricate and sell our structures to homeowners, companies, and government agencies all across America. Absolute Steel is proud to be a contract supplier with the U.S. federal government. But did you know Absolute Steel is in the unique position of having supplied all branches of our armed services and many other federal agencies before ever becoming a contract supplier? How could that be, you ask? It's an obvious question. Why would purchases be made from Absolute Steel when at the time there were other steel structure fabricators who were contract suppliers? The answer's simple, really. We deliver what we promise in the time promised, we are knowledgeable about our products, and they're the best product on the market. We know. We're the manufacturer. And in a time when our factories are being turned into loft condominiums and manufacturing is going overseas, we think that speaks for itself. In short, Absolute Steel embraces all the qualities that make a company great to do business with, and it's made right here in America. More than that, though, is that in the world of steel buildings, Absolute Steel structures are a better value and a much better product than what's ever been offered on the market before. But don't take our word for it. Let's take a minute and go over why we can make these claims. First off, the frame system is all galvanized steel, which means it's the most corrosive resistant frame system you can buy. Other steel building systems are commonly referred to as red iron buildings. Maybe you've heard that term used before, maybe not. But how the description came about is that the frame components are bare steel that are then painted with a red oxide primer. Now come on, there's a reason they paint it the same color as rust. That's why Absolute Steel structures are the steel building system of choice by the U.S. Marines in Hawaii, where there's daily exposure to the ocean's corrosive elements. And that's why Absolute Steel is the structure of choice and used inside Cargill salt mines in Ohio. Just as important, though, and a huge reason why Absolute Steel enjoys the success it does, is the ease of assembly. And that's why we call it America's easiest to assemble steel building system. When you need a steel structure with engineering available, Absolute Steel structures can be easily assembled by 2 or 3 people with no special tools or even building experience. That's right, no prior building experience. We know this. We've sold our buildings to thousands of homeowners with no prior building experience. Another big installation benefit is that you don't need any forklifts or cranes to lift up heavy pieces or hold them in place when you assemble an Absolute Steel building. The heaviest single component weighs about 40 pounds. And when you're pouring concrete, you don't have to worry about complicated bolt patterns. Those never come out right anyway. In fact, if you want to, you can anchor our buildings to the ground. And speaking of concrete, you'll use much less concrete with an Absolute Steel structure than others on the market. And that's a considerable savings with concrete over $100 a yard, to say nothing of the cost and hassle of digging those 4 by 4 foot deep caissons that are usually required underneath the vertical I-beam supports of a red iron building. On the other hand, an Absolute Steel structure only requires a 12-inch by 12-inch perimeter footing with 2 number 4 rebar top and bottom completely around the perimeter of the building. Of course, deeper if you have a frost line to contend with, but that's nothing compared to the concrete caisson supports for a typical red iron steel building. Best of all, the parts of an Absolute Steel structure go together like a child's Lego kit. They really do. One part slips into another. That's why we call it the slip-fit building system. Now, we could build our structures with a lot less steel, but that would make assembly a more involved and time-consuming process. An example of this is our base rail system. If we didn't fabricate those to our specifications, a person would have to measure out the placement of each vertical upright, just like you have to with one of those red iron steel buildings, making sure they're aligned with every other one and are square. The margin for error, especially for the novice, is just tremendous when you do it like that. With an Absolute Steel building system, there's no need to go through all that. Just anchor the base rails, and then there's an insert piece pre-welded in place that you slip the sidewall piece over. You can't mess it up. It's that simple. As you can see, there are many benefits to owning an Absolute Steel structure for your next project. For a steel building, a steel carport, a parking structure, an equipment cover, or even a livestock shelter, then your best bet is an Absolute Steel structure. We hope that we'll be hearing from you, and you can be sure from the first phone call, you'll know you're dealing with a professional company that sets the benchmark for service and quality. Oh, and one more thing, we'll make you look good. You can count on that.